On this episode, we're going to switch things up a bit by me giving some much anticipated love advice. Stick around, that might get weird. And then we'll segue into a more serious conversation around faith because I think my brothers need it right now. This is the Joshua Mentality. Hello and welcome to another week of the Joshua Mentality. I almost started clapping, then I realized that's probably not a good idea to start clapping. I don't know where you're listening, but I want to be sensitive to your eardrum. So I am clapping in silence right now because I'm excited that we are in week 3 of February. My goodness, we only got like one more of these things left and we're already to the next month, y'all. This thing is flying, and I know I always tell y'all I don't do this to depress you by reminding you of the time and how fast it's going, but I think it's something to create a sense of urgency, and it sets a good tone for our episode because it's all about life purpose. And with every passing day, that's another grain of salt from our that's just going to be a hard thing to say back to back. It's another grain of salt that passes through the hourglass. Let me say it that way instead of trying to say our hourglass. But yes, you get the point. Another day to live out some of that purpose that's inside of you. So with that in mind, let's jump into this week's episode. I am really excited about this one because this is one of my favorite subjects. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to cause us to veer away from the development conversation we've been having over the past few weeks. And we're going to replace that with a conversation under the umbrella of relationships. And I know people love to talk about relationships. And here's why we're doing that. Number one, because a lot of y'all were antagonizing and asking me all these questions about why I hate Valentine's Day after my announcement last week. I didn't expect that to catch some of y'all off guard, but it did. And I got some questions from my fellas around why I don't like Valentine's Day. And I think it's important to give the people what they want. So if you are asking and you want more about why I feel this way I feel about Valentine's, then I must say it's a little bit tongue in cheek. Just a tiny bit though. These feelings are real underneath that though. If you want to know why, then I will tell you why. So that's the first subject around relationships, human to human. The second one we're going back into is around human to creator, which I think is a great segue. So first up, why I have such a dislike for Valentine's. Now, doesn't mean that I don't support love or those who are in relationships and you want to celebrate each other. That's fine. That's great. But what I have a problem with, and what I always encourage the younger ones, and I'm going to tell you right now, this may not be good advice, but it's my advice. What I encourage is there needs to be levels to this thing. So do not be going all out on these little fictitious holidays like Valentine's Day, setting the bar so high, and y'all only in like that beginning stage of like dating, where you're really just trying to, fill each other out. You're courting, as people like to call it, courtship. Such a nice, cute word. But that's kind of the root of my approach. So I'll give you an example. With my wife, when we started dating, she will tell you, and I have no shame, I laugh at it because I think it's hilarious, but she will tell you, we had about a 7-month ramp up experience. Our first lunch or date was right there at that little community campus during the lunch break with a brown paper bag type lunch. And we had a phenomenal conversation. Just kicking it there. There wasn't a waitress or a server. There was nothing really spectacular about it except her and I were there. Our second date, some of y'all gonna kill me on this one, but I'm telling you, it was kind of an impromptu date. Our second experience that I remember, you wanna know where that one took place? Right at Wendy's. Yes, I said Wendy's. You know those little small tables at Wendy's where it makes you feel like while you're eating your sandwich, you're sitting in another person's mouth because you're so close? Yep, it was right in one of those tables. And that conversation and dinner was so great. I still remember there was tears involved. It was such a great night. of conversation and getting to know each other. Now, number one, the reason why I chose that method is because, let's be honest, I was broke. And so there was no reason for me to take the little bit of money I did have and try to, scrounge it up to go have some little fancy dinner. What if my wife wasn't digging me like that? That would have been an investment wasted, right? So my point is, we started off small, because if she can handle Wendy's and the little brown paper bag lunch at the community college, then that tells me you might really be here for me and that we might really have a future together. Because if you can make it through this little poor dunk season, then there might be a future for us. So how does that relate to Valentine's Day? I'm not really sure, but I just hate fake love holidays where people have to put on and all the social media clicks and everybody, it's just smile, smile, smile. I want the substance. I want the girl that I can pull up in my 96 Honda Accord, have the inside of the door latch broken to the point where I have to roll my window down to let myself out. Some of y'all already realize this is a true story. And she still gets in the car. That's the woman I want. That's who my wife is. Because she got on in that car. And then when we got to our next destination, you know what she would do? She'd lean over and say, "You want me to get out and open your door?" I was like, nah. It's too far. You that's too far. All right. I got a reputation to keep. You stay in the car. I'll roll down the window and let myself out and open your door. Okay. I am a country boy. So there are manners involved. There is some, what's that? Chivalry. I think that's the word. So that's there. But I just need to know that you're down. When I pull up in the faded with the 96 Honda Accord with the faded top, I need you. Are you getting in or are you not? Some of y'all need to slow down on all the Valentine's Day love and do some tests. You need to test. Go to the junkyard, pick up a car that looks busted, drive to your girlfriend's house, see if she'll get in. Will you get in the car? That's the test we need to be giving each other. You can't get that kind of test on Valentine's Day. All right? Woo, I told y'all this was going to be a weird episode. And if I don't know, some of y'all are probably looking at your radio or whatever listening device you're on right now sideways, but welcome to my world. These are the random thoughts that goes through Joshua's mind and play a part into why I don't really believe in blowing up Valentine's Day. My wife has proven that she can hang in and out of season. So in all seriousness, we should work, men, on honoring the significant others in our lives. That's something that I know is an area I constantly need to and have to check myself in. So some of this is tongue in cheek, but on the real though, when it comes to relationships, I think we should focus more on the substance. Social media is one of those, it can be very detrimental to relationships because we can fall into comparison gaps. We can be out here, and this whole soapbox I'm on is only in relation to those who were kind of in that area where I was at the time. Maybe you're a college student, maybe you're not. Maybe you ain't making a bunch of money to go take somebody on some expensive dinner. I had a friend of mine just today tell me about an experience from another friend who took someone out to eat at a nice little fancy restaurant and spent over $350 on the meal. $350. And I heard it wasn't even a big meal. It was like some little small rinky-dink little thing for like the Valentine's Day experience. So that's all I'm saying. Now, if you're making 6 figures a year, then your version of Wendy's may look different than mine did, okay? No shade, do your thing, but just make sure you create levels in this thing, in your relationship, all right? That was tongue-in-cheek, but something funny that I thought was worth jumping into and talking about since I got some questions around Valentine's Day. Fellas, I won't say that for sure that that's good advice, but it is mine and it worked for me. And I have a wonderful wife to show for that experience. All right. She got in the car. All right. Segue into this second subject. And this one is a lot more serious because it's around the mentality of faith. And here's where we're going to spend the remainder of our time during this conversation. The mentality of faith is something that I've squeezed into the content calendar because I think it's so important. And you've heard me kind of touch on it here and there before. I've always said that life starts at hope, and I truly believe that. I believe the intersection of life and hope is where we really begin to awaken and live. But I've noticed, and one of the things that's come up is, and that's happening in communities of men and young men specifically, there's this challenge of faith. And by challenge, I mean specifically this wrestling with doubt. There are men all across the world who have this dilemma internally. And a lot of that doubt, it translates into feelings of either shame or inadequacy when it comes to acceptance by God, or confusion, intimidation, because we're overwhelmed and trying to assess what's true and what's not. I want to help you today. And I want to do so by sharing with you that it's okay to have doubts. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that in relation to your faith journey. But I want you to know it's okay. And some of the strongest believers, even if we look at like the Bible and we look at the characters in there, Paul is one example of a believer who started off in the doubt, not just the doubt circle, but the like, you're wrong, so I'm going to kill you circle. Like, you're so wrong about God that I'm going to take your life. Think about that. Someone that far gone on the doubt spectrum is killing other people who believe. And I don't mean to make that, make light of that, because that's very, morbid and sad. But think about that in the context of you and I and how much room that creates for us. What that tells us, because what we know, just based on if we look at that story, is that God met that person, Paul, right in the midst of their doubt. So that gives us the greatest assurance, which is that God is not intimidated by our doubt. God does not disassociate himself because we are struggling in our belief. In fact, I think God does just the opposite. I think God waits fervently for us to just turn our attention for a second, bring our doubt to the party, to where we can create some friction, have some real tough conversations, and gain some roots in our faith. If that's you, and you're someone that you've experienced this, you're someone that struggled with some of these questions that all of us struggle with. God, if you're real, then why so much of this crap in the world? God, if you're there, then why did this happen to me? All that stuff is a part of faith. All of it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all a part of faith. I read a book once that I thought was extremely interesting, and it was called Why I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. And the whole point about the book was simply breaking down just a lot of the thoughts and theories that are in both parties. The atheist theory versus the believer's theory. And just breaking those things down from a neutral perspective and really measuring which one requires more faith. The person that says this beautiful creation that we have just came to be by itself, or the one that says, hey, there's an artist behind this. And I thought that was fascinating because what it shows is it gives a little bit of insight into God's character. God doesn't reason like you and I reason. If somebody, doubted me, I might get offended. I might, clap back and disassociate or label them a hater or whatever. But that's not the character of God. Even just based on the example that I use with Paul. The character of God is to lean into that. Because God is so secure in who he is that he's willing to allow us to bring our doubt to the party. Even when there's evidence all around us that would show there's a creator. He allows us to bring it. Doesn't get intimidated by it. Doesn't hold it against us. Doesn't beat us up or criticize us for having, a lack. Or I shouldn't say having a lack. It doesn't criticize us for having doubts. But wants to engage those doubts to grow us, to guide us through that friction and get to the other side the same way Paul did. I hope you're receiving this. I'm not trying to preach at you. I'm not trying to turn this into, a sermon. I hope that you're receiving this from the conversational approach that I'm trying to give it in. Because men who are rooted in faith, y'all, it's far and few in between a greater man that you will find than one who has the mentality of faith, rooted deep in our Creator. That is the sustaining power that some of our men are missing. Because as you know and I know, as men, we like to take on things, put it on our shoulders, put it in a bottle, put a top on it, and just conceal, compress, contain, and carry it all on our shoulders. That's how we're built. That's our, kind of innate response to life. But can I tell you, the secret sauce, man, that secret place or opportunity is when the man who is connected to the vine, who is strongly rooted and can go back to his Creator and say, help me carry this. And then sticks around long enough to see the manifestation and the hand of God reach down and help carry that weight. Help carry those things that we can't share with maybe someone else, because it might be too big, or we might feel like it's too big, or it might reek or be drenched in too much shame, or it might make us feel inadequate, or our ego takes a shot. But we can take it to the one that we know won't judge us, won't abandon us, won't look at us as lesser than, or make us feel like lesser than a man, but actually strengthen us. Actually, feel that like that wind come underneath our wings, our proverbial wings. That's the power of the mentality of faith. And that's why I think it's really important to let you know that your doubt is a part of this faith journey. But the key is that you don't stay at the place of doubt. The key is that you take that doubt and you bring it. Bring it. One of the things that I've had to do in my own personal life, because believe it or not, I've been, as someone who is a believer and has walked this thing, I walked through that journey. There's still recently, I realized like that image of Christ in my life needed like how you trace over something to define the lines and make it a lot more bold and present? That's what I've had to do. Going back to like the book of John and opening that up. And what I've done, a practice that I've kind of incorporated into my morning routine, is there's this thing called the Bible app. Some of you might be aware of it. Some of you might not know, but there's this thing called the Bible app. And it does this cool thing. It reads to you. All you have to do is go to a certain passage and press play. And so what I've done is every morning for the first 5 or 10 minutes, the goal that I've had is to refresh the image of Jesus in my faith, in my walk. And so I play that for 10 minutes and just listen. And for those of you who don't know, the book of John is a great place to revisit or to start if you're someone who is struggling in your faith walk or having doubts, or you're new to the faith walk. That's a great place to start. But doing that every morning has been like just a renewal experience to revisit the character, revisit the personality, revisit just the experience. It's been like a breath of fresh air. And I invite you, if you're someone, I want to take out this entire episode to invite you, if you are someone that, like some of the folks that I've heard from just this week alone, who are struggling when it comes to the mentality of faith and their faith walk, if you're someone that identifies with that, I want to invite you to do the same thing that I'm doing. Just retrace it. Bring your doubts. Bring your frustrations. Join me at the book of John. And let's engage our Creator. Let's engage and learn more about the character of our Creator. Learn more about what happens when we take our doubts and all that friction and we put it together and the beauty that comes from it. Meet me there. Bring your doubts and meet me there. That's what God wants. And that is the starting point for the mentality of faith. As always, I hope you found this episode to be valuable. I know it's a little bit of change of pace from our usual conversations, but I hope you still found it to be valuable. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I see those 5-star ratings and I'm forever grateful. Keep going, keep contributing, and this will help us expand this to more people and get this spread and get this message spread so everyone can know that success is your destiny.